Welcome in, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to the Farzy Show here at the Steven Singer Studios. My name's Marc Farzetta, and I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend, and I hope you guys really thoroughly enjoyed that opening drive from the Philadelphia Eagles, because after that opening drive where they ran the ball 5 times with Miles Sanders, got 25 yards on that, Ed scored a touchdown on the opening drive, it was all crap after that. So we'll get into all of that. We'll cover all of that. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni, and we're going to hear from Fletcher Cox today, because you got to hear from the head coach. Jalen Hurts is confident everyone's going to bounce back, so that's great. But Fletcher Cox says he's confident. He also says he's frustrated. But I don't believe that he's that confident that this team is going to bounce back. And I certainly don't believe that this team, with this coaching staff, is going to bounce back anytime soon. And that's kind of the impression I got from Fletcher Cox during his post-game press conference, because he said something that really was attention-grabbing. The first thing he said was about screens. I don't get paid to screen. I don't get paid to play the screen. Okay. And then the other thing he said was that there was a moment of frustration on the field where he was caught being frustrated. Like, you can't get caught being frustrated if you're a professional athlete for whatever reason, because that everybody assumes that you hate everybody else on the team or you hate the coaching staff. Per sources, and my source is Fletcher Cox, his post-game press conference, that if you didn't hear, we'll let you hear from him. He hates everything about this. He hates everything about this coaching staff. He is not a fan of anything in particular that his defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, is calling, scheming, or what have you when it comes to making the decisions for this defense. And Fletcher was brutally honest when it came to everything surrounding his role and the overall amoeba of a scheme that Jonathan Gannon has, that he molds and changes into anything that he feels he needs to going into the next game. Whatever it was for this particular game, that wasn't working. I didn't see any adjustments. I didn't see anything going on in this game to make you think, Jonathan Gannon's got this. You just wait and see. No, the quarterback you were going against had about 4 incomplete passes in this game. 34 throws, 35 throws. That's not good. I gotta say, I do feel for a lot of people that are diehard Eagles fans that go out there to look. I'm not gonna feel bad for anyone going to Vegas. Enjoy yourself, right? But it can't be the greatest feeling in the world sitting in an away stadium, sitting anywhere not at Lincoln Financial Field, and making the trip to watch your team play, spending your money to go watch your team play, and they put in that kind of performance. From top to bottom, it was almost like I'd rather have not seen that first drive. That first drive gave me hope. And anyone that's followed this show throughout last week knows that this entire week was Judgment Week with Nick Sirianni. And why was it Judgment Week? It was Judgment Week because he had 10 days to prepare for the Las Vegas Raiders. 10 days. Self-reflection. 10 days to figure out what he needed to do as a head coach and play caller. Nick Sirianni needed to figure it out and apply it against the Raiders. So he was going to have more time than ever to get ready. He had a lot of time for his first game. We all know that. His whole life leading up to that moment. 40 years going to that moment. They played a great first game against a terrible team like the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you, Atlanta Falcons. This time around, he had 10 days to get ready for the Las Vegas Raiders. And he had a great opening drive. And he gave us hope. And I remember on Friday saying to all you fine people, I want to see Jalen Hurts under center. I want to see him hand the ball to Miles Sanders with a full head of steam. I want to see them actually use the run to set up the pass. And lo and behold, we're watching that opening drive. And that's exactly what we saw. No, forget about what they put on film and we can exploit it. Like, how about this? How about you guys use something you haven't put on film yet? Which is Jalen Hurts under center, handing the ball off to Miles Sanders, throwing the ball over the top of the defense and making sure you get a play downfield to a guy like Dallas Goedert, which is exactly what they do. I swear to you, I did not mic up their film room, their meeting room. I did not do that at any point during the 10 games that they had to prepare. So then we watch those plays. We watch the opening drive. We all get giddy. We all get excited because it was good, crisp offense. It was good, crisp play calling. It was good, crisp execution on the offensive side of the football. And then never again. The very next possession, the Eagles, of course, score 7-0. Very next possession, the Eagles run the ball one time in 9 plays with Miles Sanders. Oh, Marc, they were backed up. Avonte Maddox, interception, 5-yard line, they're backed up. Okay, they were backed up. No better time to just try to get yourself some yards than running the ball right up the middle of the field with Miles Sanders. No better time. Instead, incomplete, first down. Okay, cool, good first down. And then Miles Sanders gets one run, pass, punt. What? That still doesn't make any sense to me. Not even a little bit makes any sense to me, especially when one of your first throws on that drive was a throw at the feet of Devontae Smith from Jalen Hurts. I watched that entire game, and I know you guys watched the entire game. It's hard to turn a game off like that, even though I was really tempted to be like, I'm just going to turn this off and like go make myself some nachos, and then I'm going to do the post-game show with D. Gunn and Devin Caney and have myself, a good time venting my frustrations with them. But throughout this entire game, after that first drive, you were waiting for them to go back to what was working for them, and they never did. At any point in the game did they go back to, you know what they reverted back to? Jalen to go make a play. It honestly feels like the Buddy Ryan Eagles when it comes to an offensive scheme. And Buddy Ryan was not at all an offensive head coach. And the play was, Randall, go out there and make a play. Great offense. Great offensive scheme. And right now, with the exception of that beautiful, luscious, so beautiful first drive of the game, everything else reverted back to Jalen, go make a play. Go make a play downfield. Go make a play with your legs. Go make the right decision at the line of scrimmage and go make a play. Be the offense. And I know Miles Sanders was out at that point, but you still can't put all of that on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts. And to see Kenny Gainwell, who I like, by the way, get snaps and reps over Boston Scott, a more veteran runner, a better runner as far as I'm concerned in terms of what he brings to the table with experience. Kenny Gainwell still learning the NFL, and you barely use him anyway. Now he's your number one feature back. Okay, let's pump the brakes there, Nick Sirianni. And you want to run a screen? I didn't see one even attempted a screen to Boston Scott, a guy who's been great at screens his entire career. You're watching this game unfold, and you're waiting for them to get back to what was working for them in that first drive, and they never did. It goes beyond me. And talking to John McMullen after the game, it was like that first drive of the game was a Nick Sirianni t-shirt. Only it actually worked to pander to the fans and get people excited. But after that, it was like once you appeased them, you got away from it. Jason Kelce did a great speech last week. We played it for you. Jason Kelce made a great speech. And one of the things I loved so much about that speech was how honest it was. It wasn't all about, the fans are so great, do what the fans want, the fans are brilliant. One of my favorite lines in that speech was when he actually said, you can't act like the fans don't know what they're talking about. Well, sometimes they don't know what they're talking about, but you can't act like that all the time. Like that little line, that little throwaway quip line, whatever you want to call it, that little quip, that was what made it so genuine. Because it wasn't just saying that we're great all the time and we know what we're talking about all the time. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we should take a break. But when it comes to a situation like asking for what we saw on that first drive, that's an example of when the fans know what the hell they're talking about. Because you were running the football. You were putting your quarterback in the best possible position to have success. When you talk about Jalen Hurts and what he does well, we had to put him in the shotgun because that's what he's used to. That's what he was doing at Oklahoma. That's what he was doing at Alabama. Well, Jalen Hurts, by his own admission after the second game of the season, was asked, hey, so are you being put in a position like with your skill set to do well? And he goes, what skill set? What are you talking about? Like, I'm a quarterback. We played that cut for you on the show. I'll get it all done. Whatever you guys put in front of me, that's what I'm going to get done. So what do they put in front of him? Something that supposedly is not all that comfortable with. He was really comfortable. He looked really comfortable in that opening drive. When he set up the run or set up the pass with the run, and they set up an actual like play action, not a read pass option, nothing like that. Run pass option, not like that. When they actually ran a good old-fashioned play-action fake where he lined up under center, turned around, acted like he was going to hand the ball to Miles Sanders as I mansplained play action. That's how I have to because we haven't seen it in forever. This type of play action, at least. And when he hands the ball, he goes to hand the ball to Miles Sanders. Oh, he does it, though, and he throws it over the top to Dallas Goedert for like a 20-yard gain. Bravo, Nicholas. Bravo. And then we didn't see it the rest of the game. This is not John's opinion. This is John's report. John McMullen. That's not the offense that Nick Sirianni wants to run. That's not the offense he wants to run, particularly with Jalen Hurts. What happened to coaching to what you have? I'm all about using run-pass option. I have nothing against it. It's just that when you use it time and time again, just like when you use screen. I got nothing against screens, but you shouldn't have it every single time. If that was working in this game against the Raiders, why did you get away from it? One of the things I heard Jalen Hurts say after the game was that one of the reasons that the Raiders were having so much success from start to finish of this game was that they stuck to what they did well. What a brilliant concept. And the Eagles should have stuck to what they were doing well in this game. And they got away from it. The first 10, 15 plays of the game that you're scripting, that Nick Sirianni even talked about last week, if it's working, why aren't you using it? And that just, for me, overall scheme-wise, it doesn't make any sense. And it continues to make me feel like this guy's just way in over his head. And even the most pessimistic Eagles fan you know, who watched the introductory press conference with Nick Sirianni and went, "Oh, you see that press conference? This guy can't coach. This guy's done. It was a stupid hire." And then I think most people were like, "I'm not going to judge a guy on one press conference." Oh, man, I wasn't going to judge him on one press conference, but man, that was a train wreck. That's pretty terrible. But even the most pessimistic Eagles fan watched that press conference and went, "Oh, this team sucks. This team's not going to be any good." And then they watched that game yesterday and they're like, "Yep, I was right." They're playing as bad as that pessimistic Eagles fan thought they would when watching that introductory press conference. And if you have that friend in your circle or know that fan in your circle, today, Monday, this is an I told you so day. Oh, you thought this guy after that was going to be this good? I told you so. Yeah, you did. And none of us feel good about it. I'm glad you feel good about it, though, that you piping hot take this from the get-go. But I can't understand or really see this team being anything better than what we have seen right now. And coming up, you have a game against the Detroit Lions, who actually battled the Rams really well yesterday. Now, that was an emotional game. And I know a lot of people will talk about how well the Lions did play throughout that game. They ended up losing to the Rams and the Goff, Stafford face-off, right? For me, like the emotional game like that, guys are going to be playing at their absolute best. And that was the best game you saw from the Lions, really, with the exception of their first game of the season where they put up 33 points, mostly in garbage time against the Niners in a loss that they obviously took. But this isn't going to be an easy game for the Eagles to just go out there to Detroit and win. This is going to be a tough game, and I double dog dare. So I double dog dare the Eagles to lose this game. Like I quadruple dog dare them to lose this game in Detroit. Because if they do lose this game in Detroit, with also in light of things that you're about to hear from Fletcher Cox, somebody's going to get fired. If they lose to the Detroit Lions, maybe Jonathan Gannon, maybe Shane Steichen, a sacrificial lamb on the offensive side of the ball that will all go, "Why would you fire that guy?" Because it was Nick Sirianni's offense. What the hell's going on? Nick Sirianni even referred to himself in his press conference yesterday as the offensive coordinator, which I thought, if I'm Shane Steichen, Nick, yeah. But if they go on to lose, somebody's head's going to be on the chopping block. And whether that's Gannon, whether that's Steichen, it's not going to be Nick Sirianni because there's no way they admit a mistake like this. But I will tell you this right now, and I can say this with 100% certainty, and if I'm wrong, I will allow people to pelt me with eggs on the Art Museum steps for charity, right? This team ain't making the playoffs. Nick Sirianni ain't that guy. Jonathan Gannon sure as hell ain't that guy. And I got nothing against Jalen Hurts. I root for that guy. You guys know how much I love his mindset, and he's being asked to do way too much in this offense. Jalen Hurts ain't that guy either. And when I say I ain't that guy, he ain't the guy in this offense. He ain't the guy for this team for the next 10 years. Oh, this ain't the guy. Even with as much as I'm more concerned about Nick Sirianni, and if I had to say, hey, you got to go right now, Nick Sirianni gets that 1,000 times before Jalen Hurts. But none of this season has given me anything to go, oh, I can't wait for next year when I get to watch this. Like even Devontae Smith yesterday had a hard time getting involved. And yes, they weren't great throws by Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith, but they're throws that he definitely got his hands on and should have made the catch. They weren't great throws. It was thrown behind him. It's tough catch to make. He's got to make those. Got first-round pick, NFL wide receiver, rookie or not, has got to make those catches. The one I might excuse is the one that was well behind him, and the defensive back got his hand on the football as well. I cannot look at this team and try to inspire any more hope or confidence that they'll actually turn it around and bounce back. And you know why that is? Because one of the leaders on this team in Fletcher Cox does not believe that this team will turn it around as well. Now, usually I give you the Farzy 5 of the 5 things that I look at from this game that I take away and go, oh, hell no, that ain't it, or 5 biggest reasons that I'm concerned. But it really goes down to Jonathan Gannon, goes down to this defense, goes down to Nick Sirianni overall. It goes down to not being able to catch the football as wide receivers. It goes down to Jalen Hurts not being accurate enough as a quarterback. It goes down to just stupid play calls and stupid decisions. But, I mean, you could run through a lot of the same. But it comes down to Jeffrey Lurie. He's the guy that hired these people. Comes down to Howie Roseman. He's the guy that bought the groceries for Nick Sirianni to cook dinner and Jonathan Gannon to cook dinner as well as his sous chef. So, like, I don't know how to just separate 5 people when it's so many other people that are to blame for this as well. And it also comes down to, yes, making better plays and having a better attitude if you're Fletcher Cox. But I don't blame him for being as frustrated as he is. There are a couple of things that jumped out to me this game that I for the life of me, I can't figure out. The first thing, it comes down to the 4th and 1 on your own 34-yard line. Nick Sirianni decided to go for it. They got it. Good for them. It worked. Stupid. It was a 7-7 game at that point. And he goes for it on a 4th and 1 on their own 34-yard line. This game from the jump was a desperation game by the Eagles. So much so, how desperate, you ask, that Nick Sirianni actually ran the football. That's how desperate he was. And it worked. And then he got away from it. The other was the onside kick. Oh, I can't fault him for being aggressive. Oh, I can. Hi. Like, I know a lot of people were tweeting, I can't fault him for being aggressive. I like the aggressiveness. I was like, oh, I can. Can I call on me, teacher? I'll take exception to being aggressive. Desperation again. Desperate decision to go for, or to go for the onside kick. It was a 10-point game. You already attempted to give them life by giving another issue I think I took issue with, which was giving them that 3rd and 15 option when the punt team was already on the field, and they decided to accept the penalty and had the Raiders go for the 3rd and 15. Next thing you know, it's like a 60-yard bomb down the sideline, which, by the way, Avonte Maddox made the stop that forced a 4th and 5, and that's when Nick Sirianni accepted a penalty, brought the offense back onto the field. He says the chronology, chronologically speaking, that's not really how it happened, so it looked bad. Okay. The offense comes back on the field. They get the first down. Avonte Maddox then steps up again and gets an interception. And then the Eagles couldn't do anything with the ball from that point on. But that was just another example of hold on a second. Why are you accepting it when it was 4th and 5 and they were probably not going to go for it? They were going to punt the football and give it back to you anyway. So that was dumb. The other is you actually got Dallas Goedert involved in this game early with that play action pass that I mentioned earlier. And then you didn't see him till the 4th quarter. I know we talk a lot about getting your running backs involved and when Miles Sanders is healthy, getting him involved. But Dallas Goedert is a pretty good tight end as well. Where's the scheme to get him open a little bit more, especially earlier in the game? And throughout this game, really throughout last week, leading up to this game, I talked about Devontae Smith and getting him involved more. I didn't even see that little burst from Devontae Smith. Like, usually we see a 4 or 5 play burst on a drive where it's Devontae Smith, run the football, Devontae Smith. And we didn't see that at all in this game either. I thought Nick Sirianni played scared. I thought he played desperate at times. And the onside kick, the bringing the offense back onto the football field, those were just 2 examples of that. And I can't believe for the life of me why he would get rid of running the football, especially with as well as they were doing it earlier in this football game. I'm beside myself with it. I'm shocked with it. And yet, this is the guy of all the candidates. Like, I think Todd Bowles interviewed after the Super Bowl with that great performance that he had. I think he got an interview like on a FaceTime, or not FaceTime, like a Zoom interview, whatever, and then that was it. But like, Nick Sirianni sat across from Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, and they both looked at him and said, that's the guy. I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't get it. I don't know what he does well. I mean, Doug Peterson got tested plenty of times in instances where he had to keep the locker room together. And that's what he was great at. Keeping the locker room together, listening to his players, making adjustments. And he came in with a clout because he played in the league for so long. That brings a lot. Nick Sirianni has coached in the league a lot and for a long time, and actually longer than what Doug Peterson did before he took over as the head coach of the Eagles. Nick Sirianni was a coordinator. He was a coach in this league longer than Doug Peterson was. But that cloud of being a player does go a long way, especially in this locker room. And it lets players give you a second chance because you, too, were a player. Nick Sirianni doesn't have that. And now a leader on this team like Fletcher Cox is not willing to come out there and actually speak up towards the coaching staff. Instead, saying it all in the press conference. We'll let you hear from him in a minute, but there's a couple other things I want to get to because there's a lot from this from the postgame that I want to make sure we get to as part of our Rothman Orthopaedics postgame report, postgame sound report, that is. But right now, before we get to that, I do want to tell you about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Ladies and gentlemen, do what I do when it comes to fine jewelry purchases. When it comes to your big jewelry purchases, trust Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. You want to talk about a guy who gets it? Steven Singer is the guy who gets it. Steven Singer knows to treat you like family and give you every single day the perfect price. So you don't have to worry about a discount, a promo code, a sale going on. The sale is every day because here's why people say I hate Steven Singer, especially other jewelers. Because other jewelers mark things way up just to mark it down in front of you, make it feel like you got some kind of deal. I'll knock $500 off. Hey, guess what? It's upcharged $3,000. I don't care about $5,000 or $500. Yeah, that's not what Steven Singer does. The perfect price every single day. So when you walk in, you don't have to feel the pressure of negotiating or haggling or anything like that. And you're going to get treated by a real jeweler, a real jewelry expert like your family. They'll walk you through everything at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Steven always likes to say for the last 40 years, he's in the love business. So he wants you to feel the love. Go to I Hate Steven Singer Jewelers. That's I Hate Steven Singer Jewelers. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, or IHateStevenSinger.com. All right, let's jump to some of this stuff because it's just, I can't help it. Here is Nick Sirianni just with his general coach speak after the game about how everyone's got a piece of this pie.
Yeah, anytime you lose like that, everybody's got to look themselves in the mirror, and it just wasn't good enough execution. It wasn't good enough play calling on both sides of the ball. We just weren't good enough, and that starts with me. I mean, so everything's always going to start with me. I just wasn't good enough, and everybody else followed suit.
All right, well, we're all on the same page. Nobody was good enough. Okay, that's the best thing he said in the entire press conference, that nobody was good enough. I concur. Does anybody have confidence this team's going to turn around and even, like, here's what I'm asking. Will the Eagles play meaningful games in December? I'm going to go ahead and say no. They're not. At 2-5 right now, they are not going to play meaningful games in December. Like, December, will we be on the edge of our seat going, okay, what do they got? Or are we going to be doing, hey, what are the Sixers doing? Okay, are we going to be, is that how it's going to go? I think that's how it's going to go. Here's Nick Sirianni on the punt situation. It was the 3rd and 5. You have Avonte Maddox come up and make the stop. So it would have been 4th and 3. And Nick Sirianni says that he said, what would I do in this situation? And that's why he accepted the penalty in that situation on Simpson for offensive holding, took the 10 yards to set up a 3rd and 5 from the Vegas 43. And the next play was a 43-yard strike down the right sideline. Here's Nick Sirianni on why he said, why he accepted the penalty.
Because our chart said go for it there. All right, so it's 4th and 3, 4th and 4. We would have been aggressive, and we would have probably went for it right there. I had already accepted the penalty, and then they went down and they hit a 3rd and 13. We can't give up a 3rd and 13. So again, I can't tell you exactly how a team's going to play it offensively. Always like how aggressive they're going to be in that scenario. I felt good about accepting it. I know they converted. We ended up getting the stop after that, but. Yeah, I just was playing it like I was playing it, like I would go for it in that scenario. So I thought 3rd and 13 would be better, 3rd and 14 or whatever. You said it was 4th and 4 would be better than 4th and 4.
The offense was off the field. Like when he was looking at his chart, did he look over like, Oh, no way. Their offense is off the field. Decline. Punt. No, he's looking at his chart. Here's a little advice. I told you guys I'm watching Seinfeld all the time on Netflix now. That's my show. If I'm eating a meal, whatever. It's like I'm back in the 90s all over again. The George Costanza had a great line in one of the episodes about I'm going to do the opposite. Every impulse I have, I'm going to do the opposite. What do I always have? The tuna melt. I'll do the roast beef or whatever the hell. I don't know. So he's going to do the opposite. That's how he's going to get out of this bad stretch that he's having of bad luck, and he's going to do the opposite. That's how he's going to turn things around. If Nick Sirianni is thinking he's going to do one thing, if the other coach on the other side of the football field is at all smart, he'll do the opposite of what Nick Sirianni is going to do. And Nick Sirianni said that his chart for his analytics said in that situation he would go for it on the 4th and 3. That's why he accepted the penalty, to push him back to a 3rd and 15. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say, why not look up at the field and see where the offense is? Because they were on the sideline. And then you see them come back onto the football field because he accepted the penalty. And then 43 yards down the field or for first down, they get into the red zone. Avonte Maddox bails him out again with an interception. And then the Eagles couldn't do anything from that point on. Ridiculous. So that's where he was on the punt situation. This was interesting. We know that the defense is bad. The defensive scheme is questionable, whatever it is. I call it the amoeba. You're trying to mold it into something else. More of an enigma, trying to figure out what they're doing. But it's an amoeba in terms of you don't know what's going on. So one of the things I thought was interesting was Nick Sirianni just flat out said, look, it looks bad when you convert on a 3rd and 15. Damn right it does. But that also points right to Jonathan Gannon. Hey, Jonathan Gannon, 3rd and 15. Mister, I want my safeties way off the line of scrimmage. How do you allow them to convert a 3rd and 15? Well, he also talked a little bit about what this defense needs to do going forward.
Yeah, we need to challenge more. So it always starts with us as coaches being able to put them in positions to make plays. So we have to call defenses that are going to allow the defenders to challenge more. And then our defenders got to challenge more. Again, when someone's 91 or 92% or whatever it is, everyone's got a piece of that. And so we just got to be able to challenge more, and that's defensive scheme, and then obviously as playing too.
How are you going to challenge more? If you're playing so far off the line of scrimmage, if you're that soft zone throughout this entire game, how are you going to challenge anybody? You don't have Brandon Graham to help you on the edge rush. Derek Barnett's not getting in the backfield. That's hilarious. And Javon Hargrave was basically taken out of this game, as was Fletcher Cox. Josh Sweat, where are you at, man? If you're not going to challenge more, if you're not aggressive, if you're sitting back in that zone, how are you going to challenge more? I mean, here's the thought. Say all the things you want about Alice Singleton. He's pretty quick. Why not use him to blitz? Why not use him to get pressure? If your front four, which your whole defense is based on, isn't getting home and you're not challenging, why not choose the more aggressive path and try to make something happen as opposed to waiting for something to happen? You had a team. Can't believe this. You had a team go 96 yards on you like it was nothing. And the whole time you couldn't force an error. You couldn't force a mistake. You couldn't force a turnover. Ugh. That's really terrible. And you're supposed to be more aggressive. You're supposed to force them to make a mistake. You got to challenge them more. Where does that start? Because if it doesn't start with Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, there's no adjustment coming. There's no help on the way. Like, there's no second half adjustment where teammates, the Eagles defense looking at each other and be like, all right, well, obviously defensive line isn't getting it done. So here's the adjustment. We're going to do something different. Safety blitz, linebacker blitz. We're going to blitz at all, whatever it might be, a stunt, whatever it might be. Like, none of that's on the way. I haven't seen it all year. I've seen game-to-game adjustments. That's been good. But I haven't seen quarter-to-quarter or half-to-half adjustments from this Eagles defense. So that's what has me concerned most going forward, is the fact that for the foreseeable future, these are the guys that are going to be making the decisions. Jonathan Gannon, Nick Sirianni, obviously Jeffrey Lurie, and Howie Roseman. But I can't look at this, even this Detroit Lions game for an 0-7 Detroit Lions team now. I can't look at that game and go, well, at least they got the Lions on the schedule. No, that's not good. We're going to go through that as the week goes on as well. That ain't it either. I do want to get to Fletcher Cox because that was the stuff that it really was wild. First off, I'm going to save the screen thing for last that I mentioned, but Fletcher Cox talked about the coach's first year here. This is a bit of a long one, but listen to Fletcher Cox talking about the coaching staff and everyone kind of learning on the job.
He brought this coaching staff here for a reason. Mr. Lurie believed in his coaching staff. I'm pretty sure he met with everybody before he hired them, and it's everybody's first year. So we all learning. Absolutely. I mean, I think anybody being in the league 10 years and played at a really high level for 9.5 of them right now is just, for me, it can be frustrating. It is frustrating. And, it's the biggest thing for me is just stay a pro, stay professional. I got to see on my jersey. So you got to stay being a leader, try to keep everybody up. How often do you talk to the coaches about suggesting? I don't think it's my job to talk to the coaches about scheme, anything like that. I think that the biggest thing is, the coaches, they're here to coach us, and, we got to play what's being called. And, obviously as a player, they know the coaches and, all these assistants spend so much time, game planning. So you got to just buy into what's being called.
And you do have to buy in because you can't have one guy go rogue and then everything goes to hell. When everything's going to go to hell anyway, I wouldn't mind actually at this point somebody going rogue. But listen to that. Am I the only one that hears the little animosity in the voice of Fletcher Cox there? Like Jeffrey Lurie hired these guys. Mr. Lurie hired these guys. I'm sure he met with them before they came here. Yeah, of course he did. But he's trying to show respect to the owner while calling out the coaching staff of this team. And the one thing I will get on Fletcher Cox for in this particular soundbite is he says he's a leader, he's a captain, trying to keep a good head on his shoulders, be a leader and all that stuff. And it's like, hey, Fletch, have you talked to the coaches about scheme and all that? I don't think it's my job to talk to them about scheme. Well, then who the hell's job is it to talk to them about scheme? Who else in this locker room is going to step up and say, hey, coach, this ain't it. Whatever we're doing, let's change that up a little bit, all right? That ain't it. If it's not Fletcher Cox's job, it's nobody's job. And if I'm going to call it, because look, I'm not going to, Nick Sirianni being just totally in over his head as far as schematically, game planner, head coach, whatever. That being a fact, at least in my mind, does not make Doug Peterson brilliant. Like, Doug Peterson was not a brilliant head coach. He was not a brilliant strategist. He wasn't a brilliant technician, right, and all that. But one thing he did do brilliant, the best thing he did was keep a locker room together and listen to his players. I always go back to the game in Cincinnati where you saw Carson Wentz throw the ball 63 times against the Bengals. After that game, Doug Peterson had a meeting with his players. After the game, he went into his press conference and said, basically questioned everybody's heart on his team. After that, he had a meeting with everyone and said, speak up or forever hold your peace. And they were a better team after that. Then they go into Kansas City week 2 of the Super Bowl year, and he didn't run the football in the second half. Everybody, Zach Ertz included, we'll get to him in a second, by the way. Zach Ertz included, everyone to a man. We got to run the football. We can't abandon the run. We got to make sure we're sticking with the run. They started running the football. They won a Super Bowl. He listened to his players. Fletcher Cox has to speak up. The leaders in this locker room have to step up. You want to acknowledge, Fletcher Cox, that you have the C and you're a leader? That's what a leader has to do. I have no doubt in my mind that Fletcher Cox is looking at this coaching staff and looking at Nick Sirianni and looking at Jonathan Gannon most notably and saying, oh, they don't know what the hell they're doing. If that's the case, then you need to take over. And I'm not saying he needs to call plays, but he needs to tell Jonathan Gannon or tell Nick Sirianni or hell, go to Jeffrey Lurie and say, we're all seeing this. There's no way you can say this is putting your best players in the best position to have success. And that's where Fletcher Cox kind of starts to rub some people the wrong way with what he had to say after the game. This is Fletcher Cox talking about the scheme that they have to run.
Obviously just got to play what's being called. And, when you're so used to playing so aggressive, the last however many years, I've been playing and, it's just changed. So you can't be as aggressive. You just kind of got to play what's being called.
Say what you will about Jim Schwartz, he knew how to use Fletcher Cox. He knew how to use his defensive tackles. And one of the things you could do with Jim Schwartz was rely on your defensive line. You could. You could rely on the defensive line to get pressure, get penetration, put the quarterback under duress at least. You can't rely on that this year, and that has a lot to do with scheme. You get like playing that soft zone as much as they do with these linebackers. That's not helping out anybody. That is giving everyone opportunities to throw the ball underneath, just like you had a guy like Derek Carr do to you yesterday. And one of the things I said even last week was that, you know what, one thing I have confidence about this team is that they play the type of defense that will help keep a guy from Henry Ruggs getting quick strikes. And Henry Ruggs has not had a good first 2 years in the league. This year, he's finally started to come into his own. And I knew Jonathan Gannon's defense, with the way they like to play, they weren't going to lend themselves to that big play by Henry Ruggs going in for the touchdown. The best one they had was that 43-yard play on the 3rd and 15 that I've highlighted already. That was the best play they had. But I knew those were not going to be regularly occurring throughout this game. Everything else was underneath, and that's how you were able to see a guy like Derek Carr have the game that he had, where he was just, 95% completion percentage? Where's the adjustment? Now, this right here is where Fletcher Cox really started rubbing people the wrong way. First question of his press conference was about some screens that they were going to run with Vegas.
No, I don't get paid to play screens. I get paid to, sack the quarterback, play in the backfield, tackle. I don't get paid to play screens. We get screened all the time. Just get out of the stack and run to the football.
Fletcher Cox, you signed a $103 million deal, $63 million of that guaranteed. I think you get paid a little bit to handle the screen. That wasn't like a one option type of thing to like get after the quarterback. And that's where you are best. So I'm not going to say that you're saying anything wrong as far as that goes. And you should be used to do that. But I don't want to ever hear what you're paid to do and what you're not paid to do when you're the highest paid player on the team, and it's $63 million guaranteed, one of the highest paid, highest contract for a defensive lineman at the time you signed it in football. Come on, man. What the hell? And now you're watching this defense fall apart. And now you're hearing from a leader, a guy that wears the C, as he says, question what is head coach, what is play caller in Jonathan Gannon, Jonathan Gannon is doing as a defense coordinator. I don't like any time a player is saying something along the lines of, I don't get paid to do X, Y, or Z. I get paid to do this. You get paid to help the team win. But if you are rooting for change, like I'm rooting for change, locker room turmoil is only going to help that. Locker room turmoil is only going to make something happen faster, sooner rather than later. And if you have turmoil like this, and you're 2-5, and then you're 2-6 after you lose to the Lions, assuming they lose to the Lions, if they lose to the Lions, which is very possible. Oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be a tire fire faster than we thought it could be. You add in the frustration, and I hear Rodney McLeod come out after the game, basically say during team breakdown that his message to the team was, everyone, if you show up for work on Wednesday, ready to go, so we can turn this thing around. And if you're not in, don't show up. Okay, I think everyone's showing up. Everyone wants to get paid. This ain't the NBA. So when it comes to this situation right now with the Eagles, there's things brewing. People know what's going on. Like, I don't think Fletcher Cox is any dummy. He knows where he's at his best. And right now, looking at the rest of this team and how things are being called and the scheme, quote unquote, that they're running, he knows that's not where he's being used to maximize his ability. And this was the perfect example of that. Neither Javon Hargrave or Fletcher Cox could do anything in this game. And that was horrifying. Absolutely. Meanwhile, on the other side of the football, Yannick Ngakoue is living in the backfield. Great. Last thing with Fletcher Cox here. Apparently the camera got him all mad on the sideline, and he said he wasn't mad at anybody, but it sounded like he was pretty mad at somebody.
Of course. Just one of them things where, I wasn't mad at Nick. I wasn't mad at anybody. It was just one of those deals where, honestly, I didn't, as a player, I didn't kind of agree with what was called on the defense. So, I just kind of let my frustration go, and, it's part of the game.
Can we get that frustration in the meeting room instead of on the football field? Like, I like preventative measures to be taken. Love preventative measures to be taken by this Eagles team, especially the leaders of this team like Fletcher Cox. But look, I'm frustrated. I know a lot of you guys are frustrated. I am dangerously approaching the, well, what the hell do you expect type of thing. Like, Nick Sirianni's not an NFL head coach. He's not an NFL play caller. Whatever he did sitting across from Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman to make them think, oh, yeah, this is the guy. The only thing that really makes me think, oh, this is why he's got to be our head coach, is because he had no experience. He'd never been a play caller. Never been a head coach, certainly. And Lurie and Roseman looked at him as a guy that would be that yes man. And he would be the guy that would allow Jeffrey Lurie to meddle and do what he wants to do as much as he wanted to do it, and Howie Roseman to do the same thing. What's Nick Sirianni going to do? Jump up and say, Howie, no, I don't think so. Jeffrey, no, not my team. That's not how we're going to do it. Nah, that wasn't going to happen. He would allow Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie to do exactly what they wanted to do. And I don't really think that's always a good idea. Hey, look, I know when owner's going to call the shots, he's the owner. But I've seen way too many cases, Washington, where an owner gets involved and meddles throughout, and that doesn't work out too well. And the thing I'll say about the Super Bowl is great teams, great franchises, if they win a Super Bowl, they think to themselves, this was great. How do we get more of it? How do we get better? Instead, it was, this was great. We're always great. Everything we always done is great. This proves it. We're fine. That's not how it should work. Seems to be how it did it. Oh, and then it was the power struggle of, hey, they won. Oh, Doug Peterson, they won probably because of me. Howie Roseman, they won because of me. Jeffrey Lurie, they won because of me. Like, no, and then it's how things implode. And, like, I'll give credit to Robert Kraft for this in New England. And, look, when you have a coach like Bill Belichick, how do you tell him not to do anything? But he just steps back and, yeah, you have at it. Good for him. Even with Tom Brady, who he loved. I'm staying out of it. Give him credit for that. Before we get to the social media check-in, I do want to tell you that all that great sound was brought to you by the great people of Rothman Orthopaedics. I don't know if I told you guys, I'm doing a little demo in my house, a little remodeling. I got a bum shoulder. Got to go see my friends at Rothman Orthopaedics to help me out here. They already gave me some exercises to do, and it's been helpful. But I think I'm going to have to end up getting surgery, believe it or not. Because you know what? I think about it, and you always think, hey, remember the old you? Well, didn't have that separated shoulder? Old football injury. That's not a lie. It's a true story. You also, maybe some people didn't have to deal with a finicky knee or a hip or anything like that. Well, that's the old you. The now you, present day you, might need to go see Rothman Orthopaedics. And listen to this. They'll get you back to being you with the Rothman approach to orthopedics. Back to running, back to walking, back to working, back to playing, back to swinging a sledgehammer like myself. As soon as humanly possible. Back to living your life the way you want. With same-day appointments available, you can get started right now. You can get started today at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. Rothman Orthopaedics, the official orthopedic partner of your Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers. BetQL. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to BetQL. I went 2-0 on my bets yesterday. I really liked what they had to say about Aaron Rodgers and what he was going to happen. I liked the game going into it. I was like, all right, let me not jump to a conclusion here. Let me see what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. BetQL, BetQL helped me get the edge over my sports book. I bet him on the over for 2.5 touchdowns. He hit that yesterday in 3 quarters. I liked the Packers winning at -8. They covered that easily. Thanks, BetQL. Appreciate it. Get the edge over your sports book. Their best bets computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports. And they give you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from point spreads, over-unders, player props as well. Got to take advantage with BetQL. If you don't want to use their model and prefer to do your own research, BetQL has all the necessary tools for your betting research needs. Everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineups, injuries, breaking news, even a leaderboard to help you track your own success. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download the BetQL app. How about Steak and Maine at steakandmaine.com? So I got one of them old walls that I'm remodeling in my home, right? One of them old walls that's, I live in a 100-year-old home, and it's got like the archway, and my wife and I were moving up there because the kids are going to go on the middle floor, and we're going to take the 3rd floor. And I'm hitting into it, and I was like, you know what? I'm working up an appetite. Need to go to Steak and Maine. Steakandmaine.com. That's right. I need a 2-pound tomahawk steak to crash through that wall. have myself a good time. Bit of a stretch for a segue, but you get what I'm saying. And I'll tell you right now, the Pinot Noir with a fine tomahawk steak, nothing better. Nothing better, folks. Do what I do. Head to Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland for a fine meal. Fresh seafood, freshly prepared sushi. They got the great steaks there. They were voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Cooking Channel and the Travel Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com for more information. And make sure you enjoy a nice Cavada Cellars wine as well from my man Tony Cavada, who hooks it up with all the great meals at Steak and Maine. So do what I do. Head to Steak and Maine to steakandmaine.com. How about our friends over at WinView? WinView is the only game where fans can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all. Who's the biggest sports fan? Have those friends and family that just think they know everything about sports? We'll challenge them to a WinView contest and make them walk the walk. See if they can walk the walk as well as they talk the talk. If you want to break up the monotony of family dinners and get-togethers, holidays right around the corner. Play a little quarter of Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, maybe a little Sunday Night Football as well, and challenge a friend or family member to a WinView challenge. It's the perfect way to add a little extra layer of competition to your fantasy football league. I got Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback. Not a good year for me. Not a good year. Was getting beat yesterday, challenged buddy at WinView. And guess what? Next thing I know, I got Mike Evans scoring 3 touchdowns in a game. That was fun. But you know what? On the side, I already had the WinView contest going. Won a little money there as well. So use WinView. Download the WinView app right now and have yourself a good time. How about people at PHL Sports Station? That's Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Now let's get involved with our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine at steakandmaine.com. Let's see what we got. Dak leads us off today. And by the way, good job, people. Yes, PJ is back. Producer Jim is back. How do we know that? My mic's working. I haven't miscued or misfired anything, and that's what we got. So that's how we know PJ is back. Good to have you back, PJ. Hope the luggage was great. Good morning, Dak. Good morning, Kevin. Nice to have you. Mally, good morning, sir. April, good morning. Great post-game show. Thank you very much, April. Was glad you were able to catch some of that. Let's see. April, good for Fletcher. We wanted a veteran player to speak out, be a leader. With the way this team is playing, it isn't going to be pretty when they did it. And then, yeah, that's for sure. That's true. It's T-Bro, JD Charmin. JD Charmin ultra soft defensive scheme. Is that 2 JD or is that for Jonathan Gannon? JG. Morning, everybody. Morning, Dan. Mally, once again. I watched the first half. That's it. Didn't even watch the second. I'm tired of the unorganized offensive and as vanilla as you could be defense. This is a disgrace. Here's one of the things Derek Gunn keeps trying to drill into my head. That we didn't have high expectations going into this season. I mean, I felt I was overly optimistic with saying 9 wins. And if Jalen Hurts looks really good, maybe you get to 11 wins. He hasn't looked really good. He hasn't looked terrible by any means. The 2-5 record is not on him by any means. It's on Nick Sirianni above all else. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, of course. But Jeffrey Lurie saying this is going to be a transitional year. Howie Roseman talking about a retooling year. You can tell me that all you want. That doesn't mean that as a fan base, we're still going to have expectations about what this team could be. And you can tell me about the transitions and the retooling and all that all you want. But if I see something work for a team, like I do in the first drive of the game, and then I don't see it again, and we've been screaming and clamoring and begging for what we saw in that first drive, and then we see it, and then you take it away, that's just ignorance. That's stupidity. Look, you can lose for not being very good, not being talented. But if you lose for just being flat out dumb, that's a tough pill to swallow. Show me progression. I saw progression. I saw a guy that self-evaluated for 10 days, came in with a great game plan, with a great idea, great first drive, great script, and then you got away from it again. Jalen Hurts, after the game, said, one of the things that made the Raiders so good, as I told you earlier, was the fact that they stuck with what was working. I can't help but to think, as a guy who thinks, I think the world of Jalen Hurts and his mental makeup and his smarts and all that stuff. For the life of me, I can't say, that can't just be a coincidence that he said that. That has to be looking at his own coaching staff going, hey, guys, you know that thing that worked for us in the first half, in the first quarter, first possession, and we stopped doing it? They stuck with what was working for them throughout the game. and they said, here's our best effort, deal with it. And the Eagles defense couldn't deal with it. Where's the Eagles offense saying, this is where we're at our best, deal with it? Where's them saying that? Ain't happening. That's just dumb. I could deal with a misthrow from Jalen Hurts. I could deal with a drop from Devontae Smith. I could deal with an offensive line false start. It's going to happen in football. I can't deal with a head coach who gets away from something that's working or ignores something that's going to work. Beyond frustrated. Maui says Frank hustled Howie on Sirianni, period. I did have a similar thought. Like, I remember when Doug Peterson got hired in his first year, and there was a talk about how Andy Reid just wanted to get rid of Doug Peterson because he knew he wasn't for him, but he could really fool the Eagles, right? That was a theory that was out there. Hey, what if that happened with Frank Reich? And Frank Reich's got more cause to do it than Andy Reid. Andy Reid knew his time here was done. He was going to move on to Kansas City and be fine. But Frank Reich, they wanted to fire his ass. And Doug Peterson had to step up and say, you ain't firing my guy. That's my guy. You ain't firing him. Something Nick Sirianni would have zero pull to do. So Doug Peterson holds on to Frank Reich. Frank Reich, well aware he probably wanted to be let go. Then they win a Super Bowl. Frank Reich jump ship, goes to Indianapolis, and now gets to stick it back to the Eagles for revenge. That's a conspiracy theory I want. Yeah, let me give you Nick Sirianni. Good luck to you there, folks. Oh, no, he's great. Nick's the best. I love Nick. Anyway, that thought did cross my mind yesterday. Dak, Sirianni and JG need to be one and done. Howie needs to go. I honestly, if this year is a complete disaster, and you could pull nothing from this year to tack on the next year and say, look at this. This is what they do great. Howie's got to go. Sirianni's gone. Gannon's gone. All of it's one and done. And Jeffrey Lurie has to look at the most likely 3 draft picks they'll have in the first round and say, any GM, any director of player personnel, any vice president of football operations want to come in here with 3 first-round picks with an opportunity to change things over? Come and get it. If this year continues to go on this path, they win 2 games all year, 4 games all year, 5 games all year in a 17-game schedule, mind you, you have to hit the reset button. I would rather go through a rebuild with new people in the front office than watch these people try to get it right. It's really the only option. Because one thing is not going to happen. We know Jeffrey Lurie's not selling the team. That is crazy. Oh, Lurie needs to sell the team. Let's just be real, all right? As much as I'd love to hot take you there and tell you, Lurie needs to sell the team. That ain't going to happen. So let's deal with something that's at all possible. Because if you have an NFL team, guess what? You're printing your own money. So you ain't getting rid of that. But the only way you could really sell this to the fan base is if you do hit the reset in the front office. You bring in somebody. Louis Riddick is a guy that brings up a lot of, gets a lot of momentum and steam and stuff for what he could do in the front office. And a lot of people want to see what he could do here. Is what the Eagles once before. See what he could do. I'd be all open for that. But you can't have Howie Roseman do that rebuild because then everyone feels like it's just going to be more of the same. You got to bring in another coach because I know this guy ain't it. If this team continues to go downhill, which I fully expect it to, there's got to be a complete overhaul in the offseason. It's not just firing the coach. It's a complete overhaul. And hopefully Jeffrey Lurie will be smart enough to realize that and hit the reset button. T-Bro, JG, Chairman, Ultrasoft Team. There we go. There it is right there. Thank you, T-Bro. Dan Schwartz, Ben Simmons, soft, laugh out loud. Dan Schwartz, water cooler Joe is just living life. One Guapo. I guess there's always next year. I don't really feel good about next year either, folks, unfortunately. Sirianni always looks like a deer in headlights. I don't disagree with that. Dan Schwartz, I'm not really worried if this team is good or not. I'm worried about the Dolphins quarterbacks. Since we are a quarterback factory, it's not looking good. Fair point. Yeah, that's the other thing. If the best part of this year is Carson Wentz plays a full season for the Colts and the Miami Dolphins suck, that sucks as well. Because that means the Eagles were that bad. So the Eagles are going to be terrible and have a top pick. The Dolphins are going to be terrible. The Eagles are going to get that pick. The Colts are going to have Carson Wentz play, make the playoffs, possibly. They got a win last night, Sunday Night Football, against the 49ers. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. Maybe top 3 picks in the top 10, maybe? All right. Let's have some fun with that. Let's see what else we have here. April, what a year for an extra game. Really is. It's T-Bro. Only thing Nick does good is make cool shirts. He had a good opening drive. Got to give him that. Sean checking in. You think the Eagles organization would look to the Patriots, Bill Belichick? No. They think they're smarter. Just delusional. Sean, you're absolutely right. And that's why we're all screwed. Let's just say, who was it that called this team just a poop sandwich? Peter, Lori, Howie, Nick, Gannon. Screw them. Peter, I agree with you. Just whatever gets them the hell out of town. Thanks to everyone that checked in on our social media check-in, brought to you by Stake Your Main and StakeYourMain.com. Let's get to our Morning Rush. Ladies and gentlemen, Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. The World Series is set. The Houston Astros are taking on the Atlanta Braves, who the Phillies were 2 games up on in the second week of August before they collapsed again in the final month and a half of the season. So that's fun. We're going to get more into this tomorrow, but I just want to just touch on it for a second. Sixers won last night. Who the hell? The Oklahoma City Thunder. They beat the Thunder. Great. Joel Embiid addressed the crowd Friday at the home opener. And he said they're glad to have them all back in the building. Everyone's to have a good time. They're excited for the season and give us our support, especially Ben, because he's still our brother. Good for you, Joel Embiid. You're a player who realizes after a conversation with Ben Simmons that you would welcome him back when he's mentally ready to come back. Good for you, Joel Embiid. But you've already heard from Ben Simmons. We haven't. Ben Simmons hasn't said anything publicly since the end of last year. I am willing to support the Sixers with Ben Simmons on the team because I realize right now the Sixers are a better team with Ben Simmons playing for them. I also realize they're not going to get anything close to top dollar in return for Ben Simmons if he does not play. However, I told you before, I think that Ben Simmons is going to play for this team before that 4-game road trip that they have in a month. And that after that, if he plays well on the road, he'll get one boo, one venomous boo by the hometown crowd. And then things will be forgiven and we'll move on from there. Because I think everyone realizes that the team's the best when Ben's on it, and they're not going to get top value when they trade Ben Simmons eventually. So people will eventually cheer again. But you can't tell us or expect us not to boo and vent our frustrations when Ben eventually does play. And I'm seeing, because the word mentally ready was used, the word mentally was ready, people are starting to back off a little bit like, oh, mentally, we got to be supportive of being mental tough. Lane Johnson, you have my 100% support on dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression. If Ben Simmons comes out and that was the story, hey, man, you got my full and utter support. But right now, none of that has been highlighted. And I'm not backing off, nor should you back off until you hear anything. And hopefully we don't, because I'm not rooting for anybody to have to go through something as terrible as that. But this is stuff that is brought on by Ben Simmons. I don't see it as being brought on by anxiety or depression. None of that's been said. I haven't heard any of that. If that's the case, all the support in the world. But right now, what we have to go on is a guy who hasn't said anything since he came up the smallest in the biggest moment of his career. And then put his team through all the drama. And even heard from a guy like Joel Embiid, I don't care about that guy. It's not my job to babysit. And then after he has a conversation, he said, let's still support Ben because he's our brother. Okay, well, let's hear from Ben then. You guys heard from Ben. I'd like to hear from Ben as well. As fans, you should want to hear from Ben because you're investors in this team. You're buying tickets. You're buying merchandise. You're watching the games. You should want to hear from Ben as well. And I know a lot of people want to hear from Ben to hear his side of the story. But Joel Embiid saying that thing at the end of the game, or before the game at the end of his speech, I'm sorry, what happened to that thing about I don't care about Ben? Now all of a sudden he's back. He's not mentally ready to play, but we'll see when he is. All right, let's watch how it unfolds. We'll touch more. I'll let you hear from Joel Embiid tomorrow. as the when we obviously do the show. But folks, I look, Eagles lose 33-22, and it wasn't even that close. 15 fourth quarter points by the Eagles. It's beyond frustrating. I can understand dealing with a rebuilding year and a retooling year, but don't get away from something that's working, and that's exactly what Nick Sirianni did. And ultimately, that's why I don't think this guy is fit to be a play caller, fit to be an NFL head coach. And I don't think that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are really fit right now to make the decision as who the next guy is going to be. But I can tell you right now, at 2-5, I'm out. And if the Eagles go on to even make the playoffs, like I said, you could pelt me with eggs on the Art Museum steps, and I'll find a charity and I'll do it for them. I'm telling you right now, this ain't it. And it's disappointing because I know if they were better coached, we'd feel a lot better about this team going forward. And I don't think there could be a worse way to coach this team than what we're watching right now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Back with you guys tomorrow. Look forward to talking a little bit more Sixers with you guys as well. Jim Hyden, back from the wedding, luggage and all, produced the program. Thanks, PJ. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzy. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you on Tuesday. See you.